Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is Amani Birth and this is the Amani Change My Life series. I am here with my dear sister friend. Oh, well, first I say I'm Aisha. Yes, I love you. I'm Aisha El Hajjar. I'm the founder of Amani Birth, and I'm here with one of the one of my dearest Amani affiliates, Ivana Cooper. So, Assalamu alaikum, Ivana. How are you?
Walaikum salam, alhamdulillah. I'm good, love. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I'm so happy to have you on today. You are just I'm so excited about you because since you started with Amani Birth, you've just really done so much. So before I say too much, though, I'll let you tell me. How did you come to know about Amani Birth? Like, how did you even become aware of us?
Oof, that was a long time ago. I first heard about Amani Birth when I was living in Medina. I had just had my first baby, and I had met a bunch of Western sisters living there, and somebody had mentioned that there was a sister that had come and was doing this training on, better birthing techniques. And I was 16, almost 17, having my first baby, living in Saudi Arabia by myself. So
I was your husband, not by yourself. I mean, away from family.
Yeah, away from family and friends. Like, I didn't know anybody there. So it was like something that like took my ear, like, oh, I should sign up for that. So I remember going on and like signing up for like information. And so I think my name had been on the list for like over 10 years before I before I had actually like stepped into it. But it was something that caught my ear a long time ago, mashallah.
Mashallah, mashallah. And what is your relationship with Amani Birth now? Tell us your status with Amani Birth.
So Amani Birth, I am currently an Amani Birth certified labor doula, as well as a childbirth educator and the Amani Birth USA coordinator for when that becomes a thing again. When COVID decides to get its life back.
Whenever we start traveling again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I got to go back to America.
Stateside. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Yeah. And you took your workshop. I'm trying to remember, you took your workshop. What year did you finally take your workshop?
I took my workshop, if this is where 2021, that must have been in the end of 2018, leading into the 2019.
Yeah. 18 or 19. Right.
Well, it was the end because we went into January. Like, we went over.
Okay. Right. So 18, 19. Right. Yeah. So you started workshop with Amani Birth in 18, 19. You just hit the ground running. You've done so much, mashallah. I'm really impressed with that. Before I get to that, what influenced you to engage with Amani Birth? What was it that was like, yeah, I'm gonna? You sat there thinking about it for almost 10 years, right? What made you finally say, okay, I'm gonna do this?
Well, I had already had my fourth kid by that point. I had very extreme and medicalized and difficult pregnancies. Had my fourth baby and had but I had the birth as close to the best birth experiences as I could have and what I wanted at that time for what I knew. So I was feeling very like
what I knew at that time, right?
Very key. And in my whole story, everything is what I knew when, because I just didn't know quite a few things beforehand. And I thought I did, mind you. I considered myself a very educated birth consumer. It was something that I thought I knew quite a bit about. And I probably knew more than most, but it still wasn't anywhere close to what I needed to know. But I took that. I had the last baby and I had severe PPD and PPA after her. And so I was seeing a therapist, and she actually
break that down for people who don't know what that stands for.
Sorry, I had postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety.
Right. And do you think that was related to the birth experience, or was it just related to life?
I think it was a combination of both. Yeah, I think that I had talked myself into the idea that the birth that I talked myself into my pregnancy into like, this is going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. You're going to do great. It's going to be great. And, even if it's not like this and you don't enjoy that, and this isn't really good, but it'll be all right. And I had kind of psyched myself out, or what I thought I was going to, had the birth, and then prominently 36 hours later, lost my mind. I'm not being exaggerating when I say that. Truly lost my mind about exactly 36 hours after she was born. I don't know if it was the rush of hormones. To this day, I can't tell you exactly, but what exactly hit me the wrong way, but something didn't. It was not good. But I was seeing a therapist, and she, we talked a lot about how I had prepped through my pregnancy and what I had done and what I thought I had done the right way to make sure that this birth had looked differently. And she said to me, Ivana, you would make an incredible doula. And I thought, well, I've heard, about a doula before. And I had looked into a doula actually myself in the US for myself prior to that, but just had never kind of, you know, done it fully. And so I asked her, you know, why do you say that? And she said, if you could take everything that you learned for yourself and all the work that you put in, she said, combined with the fact that you love helping people and you currently are in need of a focus in life and something that's going to help ground you. Imagine if you were to become a doula and help somebody else. And I thought, wow. And then subhanAllah, I swear this is when I say like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took over, because I saw online, or I must have gotten an email that said upcoming doula training. And then I could afford it at that time. And it was in Delaware. And I was like, all the, like, you know, as they would say, all the stars aligned. And it just was like, oh, I should do this. And I never looked back.
I get chills because I think about, you know, a couple of things there. Of course, Allah's planning and how everything gets lined up. But beyond that, just the thought of, you know, you were on the edge of like you said, I lost it, right? With the postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, to the point you were seeing a therapist. And for her to look at you and say, you should take all of this effort you put into birth preparation and become a doula. Think about the therapeutic value of taking your own trauma and turning that into something to help other people. Do you see how huge that is?
Oh no, I till this day I like stalk her whole existence, because I'm like, you don't understand that. By helping me make that connection with her, understanding the therapeutic nature behind it, while at the same time understanding me and how that would work for me and how I would benefit and how it would kind of help to really put my feet flat on the ground and make real change, because that's what I was looking for. I was searching for a ground to stand beneath. And when you have, for those that don't know, when you have like postpartum depression, anxiety, you're constantly feel like everything's up in the air and you don't have a handhold. And so you're always looking for a way to ground yourself and to kind of remind yourself of where you are and what you're doing and what's important. And I was struggling with that. And her giving me that, it was like, click.
And then training with Amani Birth gave you that solid foundation.
Oh yeah, no, training with Amani Birth, that part is set me over the, like, it was like she kind of gave me like the door, like, here, start here. And Amani Birth took me way down the path.
Mashallah. So tell me a little bit about how that Amani Birth training was for you. What happened in that training with you? I mean, of course, I remember watching Ivana transform.
Definitely do.
I have to tell you, I have the best job in the world, because I get to sit in a room full of people who think they know a lot, and or some who think they don't know anything, and then take them from you know, ground zero all the way to something else. And I get to watch that transformation, whether I'm working with pregnant couples, you know, moms and dads who are expecting,
of course,
watch their transformation and the bonding of their marriage, or working with you, you know, childbirth educators and doulas, potential childbirth educators and doulas, and watching your transformation. It's just a joy. But I want you to explain it from your perspective.
So, like I said, I had kind of come into it with, you know, I have been prepping for pregnancy since I was 16. So, you know, this training is not going to be anything extra. I mean, I had read so many books, and like I had in my last pregnancy decided like, oh, I'm not going to take my glucose test the standard way with the glucose drink. I'm going to do it the alternative way with the Snickers bar or the Pepsi can. So like I was feeling very confident. I got this. You know, this is going to be easy. What could she possibly else really teach me? I have 4 kids. Like, what are you going to do for me? And I tried really hard. I remember going in like, you know, you need to be like open-minded and like, don't shut down, you know, like what you could learn. so I had gone in there with like an open chest and open spirit, ready to receive, while at the same time in the back of my head going, but you know a lot. So like, this is going to be hard. And because I'm a person that at the time was really struggling with anxiety, was worried about going into something that was going to be really difficult for me. So I got to the training and we sat down and like met everybody. And it's like, so nice to meet you in person after all that time. And by that point I had already started reading the Amani book. And so it was like, oh, it's like meeting a celebrity at that point. Like, oh, you know, I read about your life and your story. And then of course I had been hearing about you for years. So that was amazing. And then meeting your family, mashallah. And those couple of days, probably I feel like every chapter you like threw something new at me, and my mind was like, and I used to sit there like, okay, just give me a minute because I need to process. Like, wait, what? Wait, I don't understand. And it could have been, and all I could do through that training was to cycle it back. So everything that you said, I would like rewash through the 4 births. Like, oh, so that's
right.
Well, now I don't so I struggled. And to, you know, to everybody watching, like I had a hard time, like that, those sessions were not like la-di-da and calm and chill. Like, of course, the vibe and the energy and, you know, Aisha's vibe and energy is great and calm and chill, but I was in turmoil because all I could think of was everything that I didn't know. And then I'm judging myself at the time. I'm judging myself, and I find this happens a lot. And, you know, to other moms, like I was judging myself with all that I didn't know and feeling like, how didn't you know this? What's happening? Why didn't you read more? Where were the videos? Where, you know, why were you left without all this information and this knowledge? And maybe your life and your children's lives would have been so differently had you have known, you know, all of these things. And so, of course, we're Muslims, so, you know, we, you know, not supposed to look back and be like, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, yeah. But human nature and what I was struggling with at the time, that made it nearly impossible to not. So I think the culmination of that was when we started learning about preeclampsia, and that day's like seared in my mind. Where
I remember you looking at me going, "Wait a minute, hold on, what are you saying?" I remember.
Yeah, because still I get emotional every time when I teach childbirth classes and I get to this chapter. I preempt everybody, like, be prepared. I'm going to cry, and it's not because of anything, but every time I get to this chapter, the same emotion hits me and I go, why didn't anybody tell me this? And mind you, like I went afterwards because I'm very good friends with my nurse practitioner and my OBs that were my OBs at the time. I'm now very much linked and I work a lot with the practice. Oh, I laid them out. Excuse me. Why would you never tell me this? I was in here with you all day after day. I cried in your office. I struggled in your, like, what kind of friends are you? Like, why would nobody tell me this? And, you know, and the stuff that they were like, it's not stuff that we knew. So I was livid. And I like my nurse practitioner, my friend Linda, she always says, she's like, yeah, you didn't talk to us. Like you were upset with us for a good while. I said, I was. After doing that training, I was mad. I was like, you know, what good were you? What was the point of having you in my existence if you were going to leave me to struggle in that way? But I had to break it down, you know, actually being in the training sessions, you know, you taught us. This is not things that they learn. And so that's why our role is important, because we have taken the time to learn these things to be able to help and offer, you know, insight and direction in places that they, you know, don't have.
Right. Yeah. You know, and that's right. Childbirth educators go so much further than medical practitioners in getting you prepared. You know,
absolutely. In many ways, not just the physical, but the emotional and the mental, you know.
Right. Yeah, the doctors are there to check your blood pressure, you know, check your weight, check your urine dipstick, and no clinical signs of anything.
Diagnose, absolutely.
Right, they're diagnosing. Exactly, they're diagnosing. They're not in the field of prevention.
No, they're not. And considering that it's like that part, I understand to a certain extent when you're dealing with surgeons, when you're dealing with not even internal medicine doctors, but other doctors. I can get cardiologists, things like that. Like I can kind of understand where like you studied how to fix a problem.
Well, and people don't come to them until they're seriously sick.
Right. Like nobody will know, right? Like you go to a cardiologist when you know you can need a cardiologist, right? Exactly. However, for pregnancy and OBGYNs, I think that it is the biggest education gap, massive education gap because it's not the same. I'm not sick when I come into the doctor and I'm pregnant.
Right.
You could be giving me information and I come in for that first appointment around 8 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. So you know, because you make that first phone call. Yeah. You make that first phone call like when the stick turns blue, which for most people is about 6 weeks. And then they'll tell you, okay, you've got to wait a few before you come in for your first appointment. Okay. So you met me from the beginning.
You should have been getting some of the basic foundational stuff.
That very first visit should 100% be a setup and education. You should be starting off these women with all the information that they need. No, you come in, you pee in a cup, they check it, you're fine. They check your blood pressure, they try and find a heartbeat, and then they send you off on your merry way with some folic, you know, acid vitamins, and you know,
a lot of papers to, you know, fun little things to read about what to expect when you're expecting.
But even that, not all doctors do. Yeah, not all doctors even do that. It's sitting in the waiting room for you to pick up yourself if you so desire, but they're not actually offering you education. And I just had this conversation again with that same practice with, because I was in a delivery with one of my OBs. And I was just telling her, because she was asking me how I had prepped the mom that we were with then for delivery, because the doctor was sure that this mom was going to have a C-section, and I was livid that because I'm like, you know me well enough to know that we're not having this conversation. So what's happening? And she was like, I know, I understand. I just, this is my feeling. And I was like, you can have your feelings outside of my delivery room. I'm that person. I'm that person in a delivery room. Like, this is my delivery room. Move. And the doctors at this point, the doctors that I know are my friends. They're just like, it's just Ivana. Just let her do. We'll come back later. They'll be good. But I had this conversation with her where I said, I did a lot of education and training with her. She's not coming into this with no idea of what's happening.
Right.
And I said, and I blame you for not having this kind of training in the office. Why isn't this kind of training in the office? And she's like, well, we never discussed that. And I was, we went on a whole like rant back and forth. And I was like, did discuss it. We'll discuss it again later on too. But if that became the standard of care, that at the beginning of your pregnancy, you were helping to educate women and offer them real information on their pregnancy, not just the things that they're supposed to stay away from and when to call when there's a problem, but the things that would benefit them and make their pregnancy more healthy and more content mentally and physically.
Right.
Where would we be as a society with moms that start off their pregnancies that way?
Right. Oh, I know. And it's like, we could totally change not only the birth experience, Ivana,
Absolutely.
but long-term health.
Yes.
Because long-term health is related back to like what happens in pregnancy and birth, and then the postpartum period, whether or not moms breastfeed. We can reduce the rates of chronic illness and the health burden of those things if we took care of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. But that would also mean that we would put out of business a lot of pharmaceutical and a lot of medical practices, because we're in such a huge need for chronic care.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That would be the struggle, right?
The catch-22, right?
Don't get me started. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It makes me so frustrated. And I had this conversation recently with, so I had met this is going off book, but I had met a tarot card reader at the office that I work at.
Okay.
And she is very practicing Christian. So we had a conversation about just being, kind of devout in our faith and the paths that it led us on, So just that's what she was. And we I was explaining to her, she's like, why do you feel like doulas are important? What do you feel like is the base? Because she had no information herself about it. She'd never heard of it before. And this is a woman in her 50s. So, she was like, I had three boys. I had no concept.
I mean, I have to be honest. I didn't hear about it. It wasn't a thing when she was birthing. I didn't hear about it till I was having my 8th kid. I never heard of a doula in kids 1 through 7. What the heck's a doula? Right. So it wasn't a thing in the 90s, right?
Yeah, right.
So
she definitely was like, what? Huh? Excuse me? So I was explaining it to her, and I just was telling her, if you really break it down and break down, the personalities of each of your sons, and go back to their births and the way they came into the world, how you were during your pregnancy, what your health was like, how their births were, what your postpartum was like, do you not see a direct link to that? And she sat there with me like, oh my God, I never thought about it like that. She's like, yes. And so she's telling me, my first one is like this, and my second one. And I was like, I truly believe that the way that we enter the world and the energy in which we enter the world, I said, people walk into delivery rooms, especially when you're in a hospital setting, with like, this is normal, people are here all the time. That's how the staff walks in. And I consider one of my jobs is to make sure that room, that space doesn't feel like a regular room. You're not coming into a regular delivery room. This is a mom that understands and knows. This is a dad that understands and knows. This is a room that feels different. It smells different. It looks different, even though we're in a hospital. And the energy in this room is going to be drastically different. And I want you to respect that as a provider as you walk into this room, understanding that you're walking into a space where we have like a focus and a vision, and we're looking for something positive, and we're wanting a different vibe. I don't want you coming in here with your negativity, your irritation, your annoyance, your whatever it is, leave it outside of the room. And as doulas, we know to prep before that. I mean, before I even enter the hospital, I like sit in the car and like amp myself up and like drop all the stress that I'm carrying from home or annoyance from whatever, because I don't want to enter their space bringing in my baggage and my drama and changing the energy of their room. And I was explaining to her, I said, and I truly believe that because that space, I said, your body is open. Your body is completely open. You are, there's a life entering from one dimension into the next. You know, a baby's going to go from, you know, breathing the way it's breathing in the womb to breathing outside. This is a sacred space. Yes. This is a special space, and it should be treated as such no matter where the mom is delivering. And if we could get that mentally to understand, everybody to mentally comprehend that this space, we need that in the space in order to ensure that the rest of society doesn't look the way it's looked the last few years. Because I'm like, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm like, I don't think we're doing that great of a job. Yeah, that, you know, we are birthing society. And I don't care that women have been doing it since Eve. Ultimately, it is how we do it and how we feel doing it that changes the way the world is, period. Absolutely. So we are, as doulas, there to help with that and to help give them that experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say, let me just type this here. Because I am like typing some notes as we, some chat things for people to read as we're talking. There's an Indian proverb, and I think I probably mentioned this in your workshop, American Indians, where they say that if you want to create a tribe of warriors, you traumatize their birth. And if you want to create a tribe of peacemakers, you coddle or take care of their birth. And that's a huge understanding that how we come into the world affects us as people, and therefore affects us as a society at large. It's really big. The birth experience really does matter for a lifetime.
And other cultures have been doing this forever, you know? The Western culture, we don't do this because everything is done medicalized and to be covered by insurance and, you know, money-wise. But I mean, other cultures have been ensuring that the experience of a woman with a baby coming into the world was carefully done and managed and loved. And
there's some beautiful cultures out there, especially. I think that every culture, to be honest with you, has lost touch with the birth experience. I will be honest.
I agree.
I think that every culture around the world has lost its ability to coddle birth. But what I will say is there are cultures that are still really good at taking care of the 40 days postpartum. Malaysian culture, Singaporean culture, Indonesian culture, maybe Moroccan culture. There's some really great cultures around postpartum care still hanging in there traditional. But we've all lost, I think, I haven't seen a culture yet, and I've worked in many. I have not seen a culture yet that still really takes care of birth. Because we're so busy trying to diagnose and prognose and treat that we forget that, as the World Health Organization says, that the only thing birth really needs is close observation in case of complications and tender loving care. You know, so I think we've all lost this. That's really, really huge. So tell me this, Ivana, how has your engagement with Imani Birth changed your life? Because that's our title, right? Imani changed my life. Why are you here? How did this change your life?
So after taking that training, there was no way I was sitting on it. So it was, what do I have to do? What other requirements are necessary? Great. How quickly can I get these done so that I can get this sorted? Let me do that. The only one struggle that I had was trying to find, my first client.
Which everybody struggles with that. Unless they have a relative who's pregnant, everybody struggles with that first client.
And I truly believe we actually need to start helping doulas first, like right off the bat, doulas kind of get comfortable with it, because there's so much a personal connection that needs to be understood and taught. Because I feel like, you see a lot of I'm in a lot of doula groups, and people are coming in and they're new and they've got all the training, but they haven't figured out the personal connection part. And ultimately, that's what's going to connect you to moms, period. You can know all the things and be great at all the things. They will not come and feel comfortable with you if you cannot make connections with other humans, which requires actual effort on our part. Especially if you don't have a personality where that just comes easily, where you just vibe and connect with people, then you have to know and understand that this is going to be a part of the job, or else you're really going to have a hard time. And I know a couple of doulas that are kind of really quiet and very reserved, and they call me Ivana, I don't know. And so we have the same conversations, because I'm you do know, you just have to step outside of your comfort zone to get there. It's not easy for people that aren't, super bubbly and hype and excited all the time. So, you have to really think about it and then understand who you're dealing with, because it's not just about how you are, it's how the client is, and how to connect with people. It's actually a skill. It's something that can be taught and you can learn to do. But so I, struggled for a month, I think, or two, which I know it's not a long time for a lot of other people. They're we've been waiting for a long time, but for me, that was annoying. I was trying to like really just trying to find somebody. And I ended up kind of signing up with like a life coach kind of to help kind of shove me forward. And she actually offered me some ideas on how to just get a client and how to kind of step out of where I was and what I was used to dealing with. Yeah. And so I basically offered my services to one of the sisters at the masjid. And I already vibed with her in general a little bit. And so, you know, I offered it like as a gift. And that was her advice. Like, don't say, you know, I want to do this for you for free. No, this is a gift that I'm giving. My baby gift to you would be to give you this. And by phrasing it that way, immediately she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Okay, well, let me talk to my husband when we can set up classes. It was done. The end of the conversation. I had to do nothing else after I said that. So that was she was my first childbirth education, but I didn't expect to be her doula. So I didn't go in with her.
Well, when you teach them, they realize how valuable you are, and then they want you to be your doula. That's always how it happens.
Right. So we did that, and then it was as we got closer to the end of that childbirth education class where they were like, so you're going to be there, right? And I was like, if you want me to be there, sure. Alhamdulillah, that worked out great. Her birth was snap, snap, snap. Alhamdulillah, she was like, all that training.
Mashallah. That was great, the way that you worded that. It's not that I want to do this for free because I need you. I want to give you a gift for your baby. I like that. I'm going to use that with our doula training.
You should. Yes, it works, and it works very well.
We have a comment that popped up, and I want you to see this. Can you see the comment? I'm going to put it up on the screen in front of you. I think you can see it. Hold on.
No, I can't see it.
Get it up there. Yeah, there you go. Do you see that?
Oh, mashallah. Wow. Naturally twins. That's amazing. I love that.
I delivered twins naturally thanks to the support I received from sisters I met at Imani. Sophia, I think you need to be on the Imani Birth Changed My Life series. So you message me personally because I think that you need to be on here. I think I would love to hear your story and share it with the world. So if you're interested in that, you need to come and be on this one of the upcoming sessions, because to have twins naturally is huge.
Major.
Congratulations. That is absolutely amazing, Sophia. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think I've only heard twice of twins like myself, twins being born naturally.
Yeah, well, we actually have some triplets in the Imani family that have been born naturally. One girl that
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, there's one American woman who lived in Jordan, and she took Imani birth. She had a hard time conceiving, had IVF with her first, had a singleton baby. Then she met me. She did the Imani training. She was also doing IVF again. She ended up pregnant with triplets, decided to keep all three. You know, they always want you to reduce. She decided to keep all three. She worked really, really hard on her nutrition, as we talk about in Imani birth. But of course, you have to ramp it up when there's multiples, and triplets makes it even more have to be ramped up, right?
Absolutely.
And so she ramped it up. Do you know Michaela Cooper? Because Michaela Cooper is saying salam. Is that someone you know?
Michaela Cooper is my mother.
Oh, hi, Mom. I love your daughter so much.
Definitely my mom.
It makes me cry, so I might cry now. Anyway, so this woman had really took care of herself in her pregnancy, whatever. She's American, living in Jordan. She knew that Jordan was probably not where she wanted to deliver, so she went back, I believe, to her mother's house, maybe Seattle, Washington, or maybe Oregon, somewhere over there.
Okay.
Had an excellent midwife OB partnership that she worked with, and she carried her babies to full term. Wow. If I remember correctly, they were like 5, 6, and 7 pounds at birth.
Wow.
And she gave birth to 3 babies in 45 minutes. Bam, bam, bam. And, pushing stage, was 45 minutes. And she is like my superstar. And and then I think she had another baby after that. So she had 5 children under the age of like 3 or 4. Yeah, she just really rocked it. And for someone who struggled with, fertility issues, like that was really huge. Your mama's sending kisses, mashallah. I don't know if they're for me or for you, but
probably you. But I mean,
maybe
she can text me.
Yeah. Either way. I love your daughter. I love your daughter very much, mashallah. Anyway, so thank you for that multiples tangent that came.
Yeah. We love the multiple. We love the tangent.
Yeah. And the thing is, I to share a multiple story like Sophia's, who said she had twins naturally after support from Imani. Or the story that I just shared of the woman who had, her multiples or triplets naturally. The reality is, I share those stories because they're amazing.
Right.
But if they can do it with twins and multiples, guys, you can do it with your singleton.
Thank you.
Hello, like you got you need education. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Education. Obviously, I need to get paid for the work I do, but I'm not trying to sell you education. Please take this education. Please, please.
Yeah, no, I say it all the time. I say, like, this is only going to benefit you, and ultimately it only affects you. So, you know, it's all about what you're interested in and how much you're going to. You live with the outcome. Yeah, it has nothing to do. So many moms come to me as a doula with like, so here's what I want to do. Is that okay? And I'm like, first and foremost, whatever you want to do is your birth. Stop that.
Your body, your baby, your choice.
If you're starting off with me like that, I'm scared of what you're doing with your OB. Like,
right.
I am here to be a supportive view. What do you want? What is your plan? What are your goals? You know, and yes, I can offer you advice.
Moms come to me and they don't even know what they want because they don't even know what their choices are.
Oh,
so,
no,
you know,
they think they know.
In order to know what your choices even are so that you can know what you want to make your decisions. But I'll also say this, I never want to doctor bash. Doctors are doing a great job of saving lives, but the problem is their focus is on saving lives when there's complications.
Of course.
And unfortunately, they're really not trained to educate you. They're really not trained to hold your hand in the whole situation. Right. They're there to look for problems, find problems, and deal with problems. If you go looking for problems, you're going to find problems. You know.
Well, I think the mark of a good OB is them understanding that like I'm here to fix an issue if and when they so arise. And then these other people, the midwife, which, you know, some practices have like a midwife that comes first aid, or the doula that they come into the room. You got the rest of it. And that's how the practice that I closely work with, they manage me. Like, if Ivana's there, okay, well, I'll call me when you need me, kind of, you know. And they tell me, they're like, you know, if you're not there, well, we feel like we need to guide the birth. We feel like we need to like tell the mom what needs to happen, you know, which I'm like, okay, yeah, you know how that goes. But, you know, we need to kind of push and line up what we feel like, you know, it's how it's supposed to go. But when you're in there, we're like, well, we know that the mom has a guide and knows where she's going. So, if there's a problem, let us know.
I often say that childbirth educators and doulas are tour guides on the birth journey.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and I like that the mark of a good OB, I would say the mark of a good OB is one who respects that you're educated. There are OBs who are intimidated and do not want you to be educated because that makes you a pain in the butt client because you demand things. I want an OB who respects the fact that you're educated, appreciates that you're educated, and then can have intelligent conversations with you, and who respects the decisions that you make. So that's
I don't know how many of those there actually are, because I feel like they all start off with like, this is annoying.
Well, let me tell you this.
Why are you asking me questions?
Let me tell you this, Ivana. I am proud to say that we have had several OBs in Saudi in the last few months who have taken Amani Birth CBE and doula training.
That is amazing.
Way to go, my Saudi OBs. I am so proud of these people. So proud of them. They're looking outside of the medical institution and the training that they got, and they said, okay, what have you people got? Because it's something different. And so they're coming, and it's changing their lives. I need to get some of them on here. It's changing their lives.
You really should, yeah.
It's changing the way they practice, and that means it's changing moms' lives.
Absolutely.
It's huge. Huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, anyways. I mean, I would love that to start being a more common practice here on the U.S. end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would love to be able to like just plant some seeds before they actually take their first lecture on, like they decided that like, I think I wanted to be an OB, and I would love to have like just one little lecture with them, or maybe 1 week seminar with them before they get into their studies, because, you know, plant the seeds of normalcy and support before they get in their studies. Like that's my thing. Michaela says both.
Yeah, so you know my mind goes to
both of us. Mama says the kiss was for both of us. Love you. Love you for your support, Aisha, and thank you for helping her shine as a doula. Your daughter does shine, darling. We think she's doing an amazing job helping others. Wish I had this info years ago, but Qadar Allah. May Allah bless all of the Amani Birth doulas' efforts for the Saudi medical, and claps for the Saudi medical professionals. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love your mom. Now I get to meet her. Where is she? Oh, she's in UAE.
I was gonna say she's not far from you, actually.
She's in UAE,
she's
right?
Closer to you. Yeah. She's
next time I get in UAE, I'm gonna look you up. Like I'm gonna connect with Ivana, and she's gonna tell me how to reach you, because I'm gonna meet you next time.
Absolutely. Oh, the two of you would love each other. Oh,
of course, because we love you.
Definitely. Well, that part, but also the two of you would also really love like vibe with each other. So that would be fun.
Yeah. I think maybe she's the next one on the list. Maybe she needs to take this training. I don't know.
Oh, please talk to her. Yeah, because then maybe my sisters will like get some extra knowledge at the same time.
Mashallah, mashallah. You have sisters who haven't given birth yet?
Well, you know, they're not married, young women still. So
all right. She says, please, mashallah. All right. So you're gonna hook me up with your mom later offline.
I promise.
So Ivana, we're over the 30-minute mark. I like to go about 30 minutes or about 5 minutes over because I love you so much. So I would just want final statement I'm going to make. You would agree that Amani birth is a life-changing journey.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Love you so much. And I am looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. We're having a Meet the Author, Me, the Author, event on Saturday. If you're interested in that, you can PM me and I will give you details on that. But Ivana's going to be there. She's going to open our session for us. She's got such bubbly energy and I love her so much that I want her to open that event for us. And so I will see you on Saturday.
Yes, sounds good.
By the way, please like and share this page. And if, I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube or on the Facebook page because it's broadcasting to both. So like and share. Make sure you get your free ebook. So Amani Birth Online /free secrets book, and I will send you my free ebook. And that's also how you can get into the Meet the Author thing on Saturday. Because if you sign up for the free ebook, there's a check mark. You can say, yes, I want to do the Meet the Author thing. And then you can come to a workshop with me on Saturday, a live workshop. First time I'm doing that. So that'll be a lot of fun. So Ivana, thank you so much for your time. Love you so much. And I will see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.